Breathe. Just breathe. Reach out with your feelings. What do you see?
The island. Life. Death and decay that feeds new life. Warmth. Cold. Peace. Violence.
And between it all,
Balance. And energy. A force.
and inside you.
Inside me. That same force.
Welcome, Masters and Padawans, to episode 619 of Full of Sith. It's me, Bryan Young, the host of the show. With me as ever, the redoubtable thinking Holly Frey.
Hi.
Well, you have thoughts.
I do. I always have thoughts.
You always have thoughts.
Are they
but
good or germane? Maybe not, but there they are.
Yeah.
Lurking.
You're always reliable for having thoughts.
Not always.
I've never looked to you, Holly, and been like, so, Holly, do you have thoughts? You've always got thoughts. So you've always got something on your mind. Like you said, though, they could be about, they could be total, Pinky of Pinky in the Brain level non sequiturs, but
Right?
they are
Sometimes they
thoughts.
are. There you go. There you go.
So,
So much news.
yeah, a lot's happened in the last week.
Mm-hmm.
Our rumors section from last week has turned into our news section this week,
Yes.
um, which I think is kind of hilarious.
Me
And
too.
and there's a bunch of stuff with Disney parks we'll talk about.
Yes.
And
About which I have many thoughts.
me too. I've got lots of thoughts today.
I'm swimming in them. Let's hit it.
Yeah. So the big news, obviously, like we talked about last week, um, again, no surprise, no huge surprise that Kathleen Kennedy is moving. She's transitioning back to producing films, um, and is going to be no longer the president of Lucasfilm. She's going to be um, stepping down from that role, and that Dave Filoni, the person who has been trained for the last 20 years by George Lucas and Jon Favreau and Kathleen Kennedy, will be stepping into that role. And Lin-Wen Brennan, is that how am I pronouncing that right?
I think
Uh,
so.
she's going to be stepping in. Uh, she's going to be stepping in as far as Lin-Wen Brennan, uh, as far as the general manager and doing like the business end, and she's as co-president, and she's been doing a lot of that work already and has been sort of doing that for Kathleen Kennedy already and did that for 16 years at ILM.
Yeah, she's definitely a seasoned veteran.
Yeah. Um, and, we found out that this has been in the works for a couple of years. This is something that Kathleen Kennedy has been working on for a while, which is probably why there's that whole like, it's happening now, it's happening now, it's happening now,
Right.
um, sort of news cycle. And it's interesting that she's not just, it's not like this horrible split where they're like, you get out of here now. Like, she's still going to be producing movies, in Star Wars. She's still going to be working with them. I mean, she's one of the most legendary and amazing producers that has worked in film in the last, 40
Ever.
years. Um, and will continue producing Star Wars stuff. Um, but she just wants to work on other stuff too, right? This
Yeah.
isn't this isn't a we're showing you the door, Kathleen Kennedy. This is Kathleen Kennedy going like, I never wanted to be an executive. This has been great. I'm really glad I've learned all this stuff. And in addition to producing Star Wars movies, I'd like to produce some other stuff too. Like my husband has been having fun in documentaries. I'd like to do some of that. And
Yeah.
I want to do some of this other stuff. And I want to work on stuff that's not Star Wars. And, you know, she's produced all the Indiana Jones movies. So it's not like she hasn't had a foot in Lucasfilm projects from the beginning of
Right.
her career. Um, so yeah, and then Dave Filoni, who's been the chief creative officer for a couple of years, um, is just going to keep doing this stuff. But she gave us a whole bunch of updates on stuff.
She sure did.
Yeah. And it's interesting watching how the news has spread about those updates and how accurate the news is to those updates versus like how the news has spread about those updates versus what she actually said.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Where do you want to start there?
I mean, can I don't want to start negative, but I will say in that interview, there was part of it that I was like, mwah, mwah. Here's my disappointment. The AI discussion.
Yeah, no, that was well,
Because even though she's very clear that we have to protect artists' rights, I just I feel like not getting addressed or talked about is the fact that AI, particularly generative AI, is really bad for the environment. Whenever I talk to somebody in the podcasting space, which I do a lot, and they're like, "Oh, there's so many great AI tools." And I'm like, "Do you not want your children to have drinkable water?" And I know that sounds very grave and dramatic, but like,
it's
do
true.
you not want your children to have drinkable water? I get frustrated because I feel like so many people want to talk about the potential of it without ever talking about the danger of it. And if they're willing to go like, yes, that sucks, and to counter that, we're doing X, Y, and Z, I would feel a lot more comfortable, but that never seems to enter the combo. That's my
Yeah.
negative start.
Um, yeah, that's definitely part of it. My other hope was that I mean like AI is just generally garbage, period.
Yes.
Um, for those, and my other hope is that she's not necessarily talking about generative AI. My hope is that she was talking about some of the applications that they have used in stuff like Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, where, they created an AI model, not like the big language learning models that are stealing from artists, but like ILM scanning every frame of Harrison Ford that they have from certain years to place over his face to deep fake him in a younger space. You know what I mean? Things like
Yeah, but
that.
it feels like splitting hairs because I would argue that that is generating imagery and thus it falls
No,
under the generative
no,
AI
no.
umbrella.
I mean, like the way we understand generative AI, the way people are talking about it in a negative sense now, and rightfully so, are the giant models that are just trained on everything that everybody's stealing from, right?
Right. This to me just feels like the same problem in terms of environmental impact, just with sanctioned imagery lending.
No, yes, I agree.
Okay.
I'm saying these are two different things where she's talking about the whole like protecting artists thing.
Right.
Like Lucasfilm has done a lot. Like I have no doubt that like Well, I don't have no doubt. I have if the interviewer would have pushed her on the environment thing, I've got like a 50-50 wager that she would have had a reasonable answer for that.
Yeah. Anyway.
But I don't know. For me, like, yes, the environmental thing is awful. Like, I just wrote an editorial about it. Like here in Utah, they're like, let's build data centers, and it uses so much water.
Yeah.
And like right now, we're running out of water to the point where the Great Salt Lake is drying up, and we're looking at like in the next 5 or 10 years, the Great Salt Lake is literally going to turn into a cloud of arsenic in our air. And they're like,
Yeah.
let's build AI data centers here that'll use all of the water that we need to just divert to the lake. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
Um,
Anyway, that's my fuss budget hippie
yeah.
moment. Moving
Um,
on.
but if they can solve at least half the problem, I'm convinced they can solve the other half and mitigate that.
Fingers
Um,
crossed.
yeah. Um, but so as far as the Star Wars news, uh,
Yeah.
so it sounds like um there's a whole lot of movement on a whole lot of projects. Um, first, it sounds like Starfighters is a one-off. It's definitely decidedly a standalone,
Yeah.
and there's obviously the potential to continue the story because they like the kid so much, but there's no intention of that at this point.
Right. And I feel like that's one of the, in Star Wars, you never say never things. I'm
Yeah,
not expecting it, but I also wouldn't be surprised if it happened down the road.
yeah. Which is cool that they're like, we designed this as a one-off. It's built like a one-off. We have no intentions to do anything else at this point, which is actually kind of cool.
Yeah.
Um, which is really, really fun. Um, Other news that they have is that um the James Mangold script is apparently finished and
Yes.
incredible in her words. But it's on hold. She didn't give any details about why it's on hold, but it is.
I mean,
Um,
I always say it probably comes down to schedules because
um,
it probably comes down to schedules.
well, the what she said is so actually, so she said, Jim Mangold and Willimon wrote an incredible script, but it's definitely breaking the mold and it's on hold. Taika has turned in a script that I think is hilarious and great. And then her next sentence is, it's not just my decision, especially when I've got a foot out the door. So
Right.
maybe they're on hold because they're just waiting for Dave Filoni and Lin-Manuel Brennan to come in and make the final decisions.
Right. That makes all the sense on earth.
Yeah. Um, and then she mentioned Donald Glover has his script turned in for a Lando movie.
Yes. Hurry.
And then she said Steven Soderbergh and Adam Driver's script is turned in, and then she kind of give uh she gives hope for it, that she said that it's great and it's still a possibility if they can find somebody willing to take the risk.
Yeah.
um and she kind of tacitly lays the blame for that at Bob Iger's feet,
Yeah.
where it's just like, Bob Iger told us to be bold, but companies are risk averse right now.
Yeah.
And with the world on fire, I guess I get that.
Yeah, that's going to come up in our later discussion.
Yeah. Um, and it's interesting. This is one of the things that got, I think, very misreported, and then it got corrected a little bit, but still, like, it's funny that no one reported, everyone reported like the wrong part of it or the part that's not interesting.
Right,
Um,
because they pull the most incendiary soundbite and run with that and don't contextualize it. I mean, that's how it always goes.
Yeah, so they asked point blank about Ryan Johnson returning, and her answer was, quote, once he made the Netflix deal and started doing the Knives Out films, that's occupied a large amount of his time. And then, and that's the other thing that happens here. Um, she said, after Sean and I started talking about Star Wars, Stranger Things kicked in, and he was completely consumed by for a while by that. That's what happened with Ryan. And then I think he might have he got spooked by the online negativity. And I think Ryan made one of the best Star Wars movies. He's a brilliant filmmaker, and he got spooked. Um, and Ryan came out and said, "Nope, nope, not spooked." And so Kathleen Kennedy says, like, he's just busy doing other stuff.
Right.
Like, there's nothing here that says he's not doing those. It just says
Right.
he's busy doing other stuff. And it sounds like all Ryan Johnson has to do is go back and say, hey, guess what? I'm not busy doing other stuff now.
Right.
Which
Right.
is kind of what we've been saying for almost 10 years.
Yeah, and I mean, I will say this too, the way that she talked about all of that list of projects that we've been discussing, I really hope, I doubt it will happen, but I really hope that the fan base, ooh, I'm dropping things, reads that and takes it to heart because it does kind of say this the other same thing that we've been soapboxing for a long time, that like the way media works is not we like this project, we're doing it full steam ahead. We like this project, we're doing it full steam ahead. No to this, no to that. Like everything is always like a dance of schedules changing, uh, players on the board that may or may not be interested, available, um, willing to work with whatever's going on. Nothing, it's kind of the no one ever truly dies, right? Like, and
Yeah.
unless it's just really like something abysmal, which they're not taking scripts from anybody that isn't talented, right? They wouldn't even entertain them. I just feel like everything is always kind of more in motion than the fan base wants. They want uh a meeting to happen, a decision at that meeting, and then it's set in stone forever. And it's like that's not how any media works.
Yeah.
And I think the way she talked about all of these projects really evidences that.
Yeah. She talked about the Kinberg trilogy as well. And she's like,
Hmm.
he's working on it. He wrote something that they read in August. And she's like, it was good, but not there. And um, she said he finished a detailed 70-page treatment. And she said, we upended the story. And he's expected to turn in something in March. Like,
Right,
and that Dave Filoni and Lin Wen are very much on board with what Simon's doing. Um, and the timeline of things that she's just talked about is taking us through 2030 and beyond.
right.
So it's like she set up a lot of Star Wars in the future already.
Yeah.
Um, it's it's just really interesting that, yeah, no, I think she proves here a lot that it just doesn't work like the corporate fanfic
Yeah. Absolutely not.
that people seem to think it does.
Yeah.
Um, and people have very busy lives and very busy schedules, and creativity doesn't just like turn on. And Star Wars seems like a really hard nut to crack. And one of the really interesting things is um Deadline, the interviewer kind of asks her about like, what about this person? What about that person? And she's like, we have conversations, and then they say, it's not my thing, right? Like, um, he mentions Ryan Coogler, and she's like, we talked to him, and he said it's not my thing. Um, but she also talked about how like Tony Gilroy had said that too, and they had conversations, and they brought him in to help with Rogue One, and then continued talking to him, and then he realized that Andor could give him a canvas for something he found that was really important to say.
Yeah.
And you know, her having those conversations to nurture those conversations with people that might not think that Star Wars could be a canvas that they could use, or that might not be up their alley, is really interesting. And the names that she drops are super interesting, way more interesting than the give Christopher Nolan a Star Wars movie like crap
Right.
that I hear all the time. But like she says she's had early conversations with David Fincher, Vince Gilligan for
That, like,
TV.
the David Fincher of it all, I almost wet
Yeah.
my pants because I really love his filmmaking.
And Alex Garland.
Yeah.
Um and then I don't know. And then we've heard rumors of her like talking to Guillermo del Toro, and like she's talking to all the right people, right? Like she was so good at what she did. I really, really think she was like George picked exactly the right person to shepherd Star Wars into this new era. And it makes perfect sense that Dave Filoni spent all that time getting mentored by George, and then all this time getting mentored by Favreau and Kathleen Kennedy. It makes sense that he'd be stepping in. Although I do have some concerns about that. Um, Not concerns, but just like one of my worries is that maybe this is nitpicky, but like it
Pick the
seems
knit, baby.
like Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau's sort of Mandalorian thread has been the one that feels the most like locked off as far as like the extra canon, the books, the comics, like the extra material. They're the
Right.
ones that lock off stuff that like I can't tell you how many trading cards I've had to write about Frog Lady, and her name is still Frog Lady, right?
Right.
And
It's Frog P Lady. That's her given name.
and like I understand, like as someone who works in a big sprawling franchise, um not as big or sprawling as Star Wars, I understand the want to guard the stuff you're working on so that you don't have somebody come up and say like, "Oh, hey, there's this random book that came out that foils all of your plans to tell a great story." But to have them be able to collaborate on stuff, um I just hope that with Dave in the head position, that he'll help facilitate a lot of that collaboration in ways that play better with everyone than it seems like the Mandalorian and the Mando Filoni verse, the Favreau Filoni verse has been able to, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I think that's one of the things that has been the best about the unified canon since Kathleen Kennedy has been running Lucasfilm, is that everything seems to connect. And the only issues that have kind of come up have been Dave rooted. Stuff like maybe I mean like I can come up with Spackle and ideas of how to make them both fit, like the Inquisitor in that Ahsoka confronts on Rada between Kate's book and in Tales of the Jedi, or
Right.
um you know, Ventress's story, like her coming back. I guess it does fit pretty nicely with Christy Golden's book based on Katie Lucas's scripts, but like um there's definitely uh when there are those changes made, it seems like they come from Dave.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
I don't
Maybe.
know.
Um,
I just hope that he's able to foster that collaborative spirit rather than close it off a little
right.
bit the way it seemed that these have been closed off a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
There's some other
Um,
stuff in the interview too, though, but I don't know.
yes.
What did you have anything else before we move to the other stuff in the interview?
Listen, I'm just glad there's a Lando script in the mix.
Yeah.
That's all I need. That's literally all I need to go on. That's part of why I get so I don't know what the right word is. Chagrined with the way that people will like pour over things and like make their list of grievances or even there I'm like, cool, there's more stuff coming. I'm so excited. And I know that everybody interacts and engages with this stuff differently, but I feel like it has always been the case, and now because it is something that generates money, there's that urge that people have always had to like find the cracks in the armor or whatever has just exacerbated itself to the point that I'm like, you are robbing all of this of joy. Don't do that.
So that actually dovetails into, I think, the next thing in the interview I wanted to talk about, though,
Great.
right? Where Kathleen Kennedy talked about how, like, the interviewer asked her point blank, like, what are the highs and what are the lows? And she talked about the highs just being like, everybody loves Star Wars. Like, everybody has a connection to Star Wars. Like, in film, people she meets, like, everybody seems to have a connection of Star Wars. But then the lows, she cites the very, 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 and she used repeated varies, small minority of fans who
Yeah.
do that stuff that you're talking about. And to hear her quantify them as such a small sliver of the community is really heartening, actually,
Yeah.
to know that Lucasfilm isn't taking them very seriously or putting much weight behind their concerns.
Right.
Because I know there are people who think that like the Acolyte got canceled because people were like they were concerned about the people angry about it being woke, and it was like no, it was like a dollars and cents thing, and it sucks, but like that show was too expensive
Right.
for what it was. I
Yeah,
want to
I
see
mean,
it
I'll
continue.
I'll once again include the statistic. Just we talked about it before, but I want to make sure people remember this, right? Because then when the information came out that it was, one of the most watched shows on the network on the streaming platform, they're like, I don't understand. And it's like, yes, but if you look at it with the other four top five shows, it cost more than the other four put together to make. And that's just the margins game.
Yeah. Um, or like people saying Rise of Skywalker rewrote Last Jedi. And the more I rewatch Rise of Skywalker, the more I think A, no, it didn't. And B, any of the like I think they say that just because they made Rey a Palpatine after Ryan made her nobody. And
Right.
I think JJ Abrams and Chris Terrio did what they had to like I really think that the issues of that script didn't have anything to do with fan backlash and 100% had to do with Carrie Fisher's passing.
100%.
And there was no like, oh my God, we need to over course correct because the fans are pissed at Ryan Johnson. Like that entered the conversation 0%. Um
Right.
like JJ Abrams is on the record before The Last Jedi went into production, before The Last Jedi came out, after The Last Jedi came out, and still about how great a movie it was.
Yeah.
Um, or and how great a script it was before it even went to shooting. Like there is no reason, and they've been on stage together, even for like the Wake Up Dead Man tour, that Ryan Johnson's been doing. Like they I don't know if you saw that clip of the two of them on stage, where they were talking about how Ryan Johnson was the first person to pick out the Daniel Craig cameo.
Um, I no, I have not seen that clip.
So they were on stage talking about Wake Up Dead Man, and Ryan Johnson was talking about how like he was the first person who picked out, not that it was specifically Daniel Craig, but just that Stormtrooper was an actor, not just some extra, but like the way they moved their body, he was like, who is that guy? Like who is that's somebody. And because he was watching JJ in the edit because they were hanging out because he was working on Last Jedi and stuff, and it was like, oh, it's Daniel Craig, and it's like, no way, there's no way that's Daniel Craig. I mean, like, it's somebody, it's obviously somebody, um but they're still like, if Ryan Johnson genuinely thought Rise of Skywalker overwrote what he did, and J.J. Abrams hated Last Jedi so badly, why would they get together as buddies to have a screening of Ryan Johnson's new film and get in front of an audience and talk about stuff like that like old buddies?
Well, and I will once again remind everyone that JJ was a producer on The Last Jedi. Like,
Yeah, like
they're collaborators.
like none of it makes sense.
No.
But but I guess that's the point. Like, it's really heartening to hear Kathleen Kennedy go like, "Yeah, we don't take these people seriously, but we do have to take them seriously to the point where she like what was disheartening was her answer to saying like, yeah, particularly with like women who are coming into Star Wars, like I kind of just have to tell them like there's nothing I can do to prevent people online from treating you this way.
Yeah.
Like it'll probably just happen. I
Yeah.
mean, it's doubly disheartening because there is more that Lucasfilm could probably do to proactively like fight back, but that's a different conversation.
Yeah.
Um, but she is right in that those horrible people are going to be horrible no matter what.
Yeah, you can't. I think part of it too is that, and I'm not even talking about Star Wars necessarily anymore. I think in general, and particularly with media, you can't predict the crappy behavior of everybody. Like, you can predict generally people will be jerks, right? But you can't always anticipate every iteration of how that will manifest. And so if that does manifest in a way that is surprising, or not anticipated, anything you do at that point is perceived as reactive to it, and it gives it air. So it's a tricky position, and I don't know that anybody has really solved this.
Yeah. And I don't know what, yeah, I don't I don't have an answer there. Yeah.
But the good news is there's plenty of Star Wars planned for the next decade.
Yeah. Yeah, there are. There is. Um, and we're gonna have lots of it. Um, in just a few months too. I mean, like, it's weird to think that like in May, right? We
Yes.
get a new Star Wars movie and it's January. Like we've got a new Star Wars movie in just a few months.
Hmm.
Um, which is absurd. It feels like it's way too close.
Yeah.
Um, which also means that even sooner there's a whole bunch of big changes coming in the Star Wars parks.
Yes.
Or correct me if I'm wrong, is this just Disneyland though?
For right now.
For right now.
I have
Um,
thoughts. I have thoughts about that whole thing. I have thoughts.
do you want to explain it to us then what's going on?
Yes.
Please do.
Um, so on the 14th, so last Wednesday, Disney Parks dropped the news that the timeline of Galaxy's Edge was going to expand, is how they put it. They're not getting rid of the sequel trilogy characters, but they are kind of time partitioning the park. So we're gonna get a lot of classic stuff. Darth Vader, Leia, Han, Luke, those are all characters that you're gonna see on Batuu going forward. Rey and the Resistance will be over at the Resistance camp by Rise of the Resistance, which is interesting because Rise is going to be down for an undetermined period of time. Um, as part of this, and this bums me out a little. Some of this stuff bums me out. I, in general, have many feelings, but it's a beautiful thing and also a thing that makes me go, they're going to use John Williams music throughout the park from the various film scores, which, like, listen, I love John Williams music, but that means it's not diegetic and in universe anymore, which is really the bigger thing that's going on here. So you, the idea of this being an immersive place, of Batu having its own full identity and being a place where they don't know Star Wars exists, they're part of it, right? Is going away essentially. So we're going to have, potentially references to Star Wars. I know people are very excited about getting to see classic characters there, etc. Um, then there are some additional changes that are happening. So in addition to seeing those classic characters, and you can still see Ahsoka and the Mandalorian and Grogu there as well. I don't know if they're still rolling out Chopper on occasion. They were for a bit, and Hera would show up, but I think Hera is for the moment not in rotation, just FYI. Um, so now, um, Oga's isn't changing much at all. It's just earlier in her ownership of the cantina, because if you have read the books, of course, we know that it was owned by someone else before. Um, Doc Ondars is going to get a different assortment of things to have on display. I presume they'll keep some. We don't know yet. Here's the thing that concerns me the most, and I'll talk about it in a moment. I'm going to read directly from their release. An earlier generation of the Mubo family will operate Droid Depot, where they will be prototyping the BB style of droid. You'll still have the opportunity to purchase and create your own droid companion at this shop. I don't know if that means they're only going to be doing BB units. Surely not, because the R
No,
series is amazing.
yeah, I'm guessing it's my read on that was that that meant that prototyping it meant they'll still have BB-8s or BB units available, which is why they're prototype BB units.
Right, because we
Be,
hadn't seen
yeah,
those.
because they're way too early in the timeline.
I'm
They don't want
hoping.
to
I'm
sell the
hoping
merch.
that's what's going on.
They don't want to lose selling out the merchandise.
Yeah.
So they're prototypes.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see what happens.
That was that
Savis
was
will
how
still
I
be there.
yeah, that was just how I read that.
Yeah, Savis will still be there. Luke will perhaps be trying to meet up with Savi. So if you're into lightsaber building, that's a thing. Of course, we've known that Smuggler's Run was going to get some updates, so that's happening. Praise Greedo, Ronto Wraps are going nowhere. Uh, they're gonna do one of the projection shows there during the evenings. Um, and I think that's most of it. I know a lot of people are chagrined about this. I know a lot of people are excited about it. So the two camps of thought on this, as I have encountered it, is that some people are really excited to see more things expand because I know there are a lot of people who have always wanted non-sequel characters to be running around in Galaxy's Edge, which I don't even know if they're calling it that anymore. I don't think they are. So that's, but then for people that really loved the immersion of it and the storyline of it and how unique that was to have a place where you could go be inside of the Star Wars universe, that's going away and that's disappointing. So Here's my take, if you want it. I really, really love the immersion, and I'm definitely in that second group of people who loves this being a unique moment in time in the Star Wars universe that you are a part of. I do, though, understand from a business perspective how this makes all the sense in the world because I've told this story on the show before about being there, talking with a friend who works in the park and a random person coming up and asking them, "Where can I find Darth Vader?" And that person replied, "Oh, he's been dead for 30 years," because he has in that timeline. And, people just want to go and meet Darth Vader. So I think for like people like us that live and breathe this stuff, that especially love it to be an immersive experience, it sucks. But if I had to guess a number, I'd say we're 4% of the people that go to Galaxy's Edge. And so there is a much wider array of parks visitors, families, and casual Star Wars fans that want to know where they can get their damn Darth Vader photo op. So I do understand. I appreciate that they're still trying to make it work as a place with its own unique identity. In, switching up kind of the Oga's scenario, the Droid Depot stuff, Doc Ondar. I think it's a little tricky with the resistance base being there because there's not a way to really retrofit that to make sense in another timeline. So I get it. I'm very Lando
Well,
about it. Like
and
I don't
there's
like it. I don't agree with it, but I do accept it.
yeah, no, and the thing is like they would have never even had this option had they kept the Star Cruiser open.
Well, and that's the thing. They're not doing it in Batu East in the Orlando park. And there is part of me that's like, are they going to try to reintroduce some aspect of that or some type of it? I don't think Star Cruiser is coming back. Don't take this to mean that. I was like, are they keeping that option open, or is this literally just the matter of we know that they may be two branches of the same tree, but they don't always talk to each other or do the same thing. Like that doesn't mean that like the thought process is there of
Or
like, oh, we're keeping that option
is
open.
it one of the things where like you talk to folks about how like um they don't do the Nightmare Before Christmas overlay in at Disney World because they get more foreign tourists and people maybe they've got a lot of data that people want to come to Batu for the immersion in that scenario, right? And at Disneyland they have more locals and people who go more frequently, so that turnover of characters that they can churn in at Disneyland in this way makes more sense, and the immersion and the way the park ran before makes more sense for Batu East.
Maybe. I don't know because I don't know that
I don't know either.
the
That's just a theory.
international, yeah, I don't know that the international tourism of it is more invested in it being sequel era,
I don't know. I'm
or
just
anything.
hoping.
I really don't know. But it is what it
Well,
is. And for the moment, I mean, East is what I'm closer to. I'm definitely going to go out and check out what is going on at Batu West, but I'll still have East, for the moment to
like I'm
go with.
not I'm I I just love Disney parks, and I will go and I will have a great time no matter what because it's sort of one of my happiest places on earth. Not sort of, it is. Um and I love Star Wars and I'm going to go, but the thing I've loved about all of the Star Wars offerings that I've had since I was a little kid, like the second you cross the line into Star Tours, since I was 6 years old. Like the second you cross the threshold into the building, you're in Star Wars,
Yeah.
right? And that's how they've treated Star Wars. And Like even like yeah, you get notes of the Star Wars music, right? Like of the John Williams music here and there. Like even on Rise of the Resistance and even on Smuggler's Run, you get it. But having the music out in the parks be like in Batu, like the diegetic stuff and the stuff in Oga's was so great. Like being able to just feel like you're in Star Wars the way you could when you're listening to the announcements on Star Tours. Like when I was 6 walking into the terminal, the Star Tours terminal, I never felt like I could have a greater level of immersion walking into the Star Wars universe than that. And then walking into Batu, into Black Spire Outpost, blew that out of the water in a way that
Yeah.
I can barely describe. And then I never thought I could get better than that. And then the Star Cruiser took that to the next level,
To
right?
11. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and the fact that we've already lost the Star Cruiser, right? And then we're losing a lot of the immersion that made Black Spire so incredible, at least at one of the parks. It's a little bit sad, like that experience isn't going to be there for other kids that way because there are, yeah, I get it. Like there's going to be parents that don't get it, but there is going to be that kid whose hand they're holding that they are dragging in there, that is real for them, even though the parents are, you know, even though the parents don't get it, it is real for the kid, right?
Yeah.
And that's the magic. Like, who cares if the parent can't find Darth Vader? The kid is hearing that.
Yeah. 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 I mean, you know, I like it to be very immersive. Obviously, that is a thing I am a fan of. Um, so for the moment, as I eat my Ronto wraps in Batu East,
Soak it in.
I'm gonna soak it in. Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's the like I never really feel like I feel like they never really allowed, I don't know. I feel like parks never let Batu live up to the potential they said that it was going to.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people feel that way, right? I have seen definitely people who are like, I'm game for change at the parks, but like, why can't we add more aliens and droids instead of, reverting the timeline? Or even if you are going to switch up the timeline, still, why can't we add more aliens and droids and really like flesh it out as a living space?
And like one of the big things that we kind of got told before it was made was that like there were going to be interactions, right? Like there were going to be things that like you could interact with or bounty hunters roaming or like and it feels like it's all just sort of been relegated to the datapad app, right?
Yeah.
Um and so you don't have those interactions as much or the cast interactions are really limited to like how game the particular cast member you have is. Um
Yeah, 100%.
and sometimes you get cast members that just don't play. And that's something that's happened more frequently recently rather than at the beginning, like all the cast members were like all in, right? Um,
Yes, I would say more so in Batu East than West. But yeah, overall, yeah.
and it's that immersion and that ability to like it got way better with Star Cruiser too, right? Like Star Cruiser kind of gave me a taste of what it should be and what it can be.
Yeah, I mean, and I feel like Star Cruiser delivered on a lot of those promises that were made about the parks that didn't happen, like having those interactions that change the way you're perceived throughout the land and having, a reputation that that is tied. I mean, it doesn't ditch the app, but it's tied to the app, but in a way that like as you're walking through that area, the your device or the RFID on your wristband are getting pinged in a way so that new people you encounter know who you are. Like all of that was stuff that we thought was going to happen there, and it really started to happen with Star Cruiser. So it does. I think that makes it extra tricky, right? The people that got to do Star Cruiser have that awareness of what it could be, and it makes it kind of that much more
It,
heartbreaking to
yeah.
lose the thing. Now, I will also say this, as my husband has pointed out, and many people have. For those of us that really love the immersion and wish that it could be, truly immersive all the time, it never was. Even when everything on the Disney side of it was clicking along at A plus level, there was always like a tourist, walking around with their Target Millennium Falcon t-shirt. So, it never was fully immersive in that regard. Unless you got there. Here's what I liked to do. When I would do Star Cruiser, we would try to get on a very early shuttle over, even though I'm not an early morning person, because you would be in the park before anybody else got there. So the only people there were Star Cruiser people, and it felt very, very immersive for like 30 minutes, and that was amazing.
Yeah. Well, and there were definitely times where, yeah, it felt that you're never going to get that total immersion at Disneyland or Disney World. Um, but you could get moments of it at on the Star Cruiser.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean I feel like this started out I don't know if the problem is really like that Disney is from the beginning has walked back a lot of those promises, or if they over anticipated what people were really ready for. Right? Because do you remember almost out of the gate? I don't remember how early it was, but it was quite early that they had to walk back the menus and put only the normal version of the foods on there. And then I think like it started out where it would be like, fried tip yip, and then there would be small lettering that said like, pan-seared fried chicken or whatever. And then they flipped it where it's like it says fried chicken and then the tiny lettering is the in-universe version of the food. So I think from out of the gate there was already like oh, people are not quite ready for this. And I think that's what maybe informed the decisions to not go more whole hog because they thought people were not going to get it. Whether that's a smart decision or not, I don't know. I don't get paid to make those decisions, but I do think that was probably part of it.
It's so weird. It really is. Like it's like, do you think the Adventurers Club had to water down any of what it was doing? Or I guess the Adventurers Club probably had an easier time because it wasn't like, you know, the drinks and the food were all named the same crap, whether it was 1930 or today.
Well, also consider like people that Adventurers Club was its own siloed thing. So
Yeah.
when you went, you weren't like you were discovering all of it versus people being like, I want to go to Star Wars Land. It's just not
Yeah.
the same thing. Um,
But I guess I mean, but the Star Cruiser had the same problem with some people too, but I guess that was a marketing thing.
I mean, I still think it's Star Wars. I think that's
Yeah.
the problem, is that people have preconceived notions of what it's going to be because they know so much about the franchise, at least in some ways. And then, like I always laughed because every single time I was on Star Cruiser, every single time, there was always a guy who had clearly been dragged there with his family, or maybe he wanted to go. There were a lot of people that wanted to go just because it was a prestige experience that weren't necessarily invested, but they wanted to be able to say that they went. But there was always a guy who was business guy, and he would be like trying to find places on the ship where he could take calls and be having businessy discussion. And was hilarious, but also like, dude, like, what are you
Okay.
doing in the cargo hold trying to talk about KPIs? No, get out of here. Um,
Clearly a first order spy.
right. We don't trust that. Um, so yeah, even in the most immersive spaces, that would still happen because you can't control all of the people who are in attendance to that space. But yeah, I have mixed feelings. I'm glad that for the moment at least, it's essentially two different things. This is also fascinating because there have been things that like one park or the other could do, but they didn't because the initial edict was they have to essentially be as identical as possible. And it feels like this is one more step away from that. So part of me is kind of hoping that like, okay, well, if they're going to be a little bit different, then let's make them real different. Let's let, I know my understanding is that there is some space built out in Orlando that maybe was not going to work in Anaheim. That I'm like, okay, great, let's open those spaces. Let's use those. Let's make them a thing.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Oh, there was one other thing that I didn't talk about
I
that
think
I
I've got one other
meant.
thing too. So when you've got that, I think I've got one other thing,
Well,
unless
mine
it's
is
the
just
same
one
thing.
of the details of the change.
Yeah.
Um, Black Spire surplus
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
was,
That's one. I've got another one too.
yeah. So, if people recall, if you've been to Black Spire, there was a gift shop in the First Order area called First Order Cargo, and now that is changing identity a bit. It's going to become Black Spire surplus. So it's going to have both Imperial and Rebel items with the idea that they're like scavenged military surplus pieces. That's pretty interesting to me. That's probably the change I'm most excited about.
Are they going to change the TIE fighter?
I don't know. No, I haven't heard that they are going to, but Darth Vader is supposed to be over there, so
Like, are they
we'll
going to
see.
cosmetically change it to Vader's TIE fighter? Like, the Falcon,
Not
I
that I
get.
have heard of, but like, who knows? Because it doesn't make sense, right? That's a later
Yeah,
model.
yeah.
Um, but I
Um,
don't know.
but the other thing I heard is that, and this is something Delilah Dawson was saying sort of publicly that she'd heard that Vi Marati wouldn't be a character appearing much anymore.
We don't know one way or the other. I think the
Okay.
odds are long. They haven't made an official statement, but I do think that it would make sense. I'm not saying I like it, by the way, when I say this. It probably makes sense in the minds of the people who are like, yes, let's make these changes to take out a character that most people don't know, which sucks because I love Vi.
Yeah. And all my interactions with the Vi Marati actor, like cast member, have been top notch.
Amazing. Yeah. So perhaps we'll retain Vi in Orlando, which would be its own special thing. I'm down with that.
Yeah. It's weird. Like we had this little, I don't know, like maybe we're gonna be just watching documentaries lovingly 10 years from now on defunct Disneyland or something. Um, just about this little sliver of time, this 5 day or this 7 year window of what Galaxy's Edge used to be.
Maybe.
And then, 10 years from now, kids are gonna go like, what? It used to be like a LARP park?
Right. I wish I could see it like that. Me
Yeah.
too, kid. Me too.
And we'll just be there, slamming shots going, those were the days, kid.
I'll be in Oga's and people can come and ask
Yeah.
me what it was really like.
This is what it was
Uh,
like before you was born. Because I don't know, that's how it feels.
a little, yeah. Yeah. I mean, listen, I always say that I embrace change, and I'm trying to, and I am, of course, um, buoyed by the fact that at least for the moment, you can still get more of the original plan on the East Coast. So we'll just see what happens.
Yeah. Well, that's it for the news this week. Where can people
Womp
find you, Holly?
womp. I'm on Instagram as SurlyGirly5. I'm on Blue Sky as Holly Fry. Stuff You Missed in History Class, still going strong. It's actually going to start publishing video episodes on Netflix soon. I am on the History Channel on The Unbelievable with Dan Aykroyd on Fridays, and on the new season of the relaunched show Monster Quest. Check your local listings. Talking about historical things. How about you?
Folks can find me across social media at Swankmotron or at swankmotron.com. Um, that's sort of where that's going. I've got the third part of my serial novel is up this week on Mike Stackpole's Chain Story project. So you can go to chainstorycore.com. So if you're into Mike Stackpole, who did all those X-Wing books and stuff, he's been curating a series of authors he likes doing sword and sorcery fiction, and it's all free. And he asked me to do a serial novel for that. So that's at chainstorycore.com.
Very cool.
Um, and yeah, that's sort of the big stuff right now. I've got some stuff coming up. Eventually, I'm sure we'll talk about sooner than later. And as far as Full of Sith goes, you can go to fullofsith.com and listen to the entire back catalog of episodes, including a number of interviews with the brand new co-president of Lucasfilm, Dave Filoni, um, going back to his early Clone Wars days. Um, and yeah, as far as that goes, you can send us emails at holocron@fullofsith.com. We'd love to hear from you. I've been checking it. Haven't had any for on-air reading in a while. So if you want us to read an email on the air, have a question for us, please send us those at holocron@fullofsith.com. And be sure to rate and review the show wherever it is you listen to it. So unless you think there's anything else, Holly,
I think that was a superb summation, sir.
then for super producer Mike Pilot and for Holly Fry, I'm Bryan Young, and the Force will be with you always.
Sir, if you'll not be meeting me, I'll close down for a while.